Mark gathered that for the Fairy, the police side of the Institute was really the important side. It existed to relieve the ordinary executive of what might be called all sanitary cases, a category which ranged from vaccination to charges of unnatural vice, from which, as she pointed out, it was only a step to bringing in all cases of blackmail. As regards crime in general, they had already popularised in the press the idea that the Institute should be allowed to experiment pretty largely in the hope of discovering how far humane remedial treatment could be substituted for the old notion of retributive or vindictive punishment. That was where a lot of red tape stood in their way. But there are only two papers we don't control, said the Fairy, and we'll smash them. You've got to get the ordinary man into the state in which he says sadism automatically when he hears the word punishment, and then one would have carte blanche. Mark did not immediately follow this, but the Fairy pointed out that what had hampered every English police force up to date was precisely the idea of deserved punishment. For deserved was always finite. You could do so much to the criminal and no more. Remedial treatment, on the other hand, need have no fixed limit. It could go on till it had effected a cure, and those who were carrying it out would decide when that was. And if cure were humane and desirable, how much more prevention? Soon anyone who had ever been in the hands of the police at all would come under the control of the nice. In the end, every citizen, and that's where you and I come in, Sonny, added the Fairy, tapping Mark's chest with her forefinger. There's no distinction in the long run between police work and sociology. You and I have got to work hand in hand. C.S. Lewis, That Hideous Strength. Why is it that during our current crisis, the scientific health advice must go hand in hand with controlling the population through an increasingly powerful police force? Is it purely because men are dangerous and stupid and a threat to themselves and society, and therefore, unfortunately, sometimes we must be heavy-handed and deal with such men with our police? That may very well come into play, but could there be other reasons as well for the heavy police approach? Could the dissenting men and women also be a threat to political power and authorities? Is it even deeper? Are those men and women resisting or even just speaking out against current health directives blasphemers to the God of the age? Why so much vitriol anger towards them? Do they have a point, or are they purely stupid? Why do some folk cheer at police using rubber bullets on anti-lockdown protesters, while others look on horrified? What is this clash and conflict actually about? Many of us have seen the videos circulating online or heard the stories from my country in Australia. We see pregnant women arrested in their home for inciting protests, elderly men going into what seems to be cardiac arrest as police detain them for not wearing masks, which they had an exemption for. A learner driver being fined for practicing their driving skills with a parent, which was not an essential activity. A pastor being detained for 2 weeks and put in solitary confinement for announcing that he will not shut down his church on a Sunday. We have police commissioners using language like selfish, angry conspiracy theorists. Whether that is an accurate description and true or not is not my point. My point is this: are we being pushed to view such dissenters as people behaving in purely criminal activity? Or is the current rhetoric shaping us to see such people as dangerous because of their views, which need to be cured? These folk are not just criminals that should be punished for things that would have not been criminal only 19 months ago, but they are also anti-science and dangerous to themselves and others because of their state of being. They must be cured. How far are we willing to go in dealing with such people when we shift this narrative? Punishing someone for breaking the rules can only reach a limit until the public might say, well, that's going too far. But what if a whole group of people were considered dangerous and in need of curing? What would we, as a society, be willing to put up with to protect us from such people? Is it appropriate to question the motives behind such heavy-handed policing? I want to ask, why do some agree with it and others don't? Is it purely because of what the science tells us and people should be following these rules? Or is this essentially a clash of religious worldviews of sorts?